Call to order. The Secretary will note all council members are present. We'll rise and have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is audience of citizens. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Carol? Please state your name and address and go to the podium.
Hi, my name is Carol Polsky. I'm at 449 High Street. And in September, I actually was 30 years in this town. And I want to thank you all for serving. I appreciate how much time and effort that all of you put in. And I've always been proud to say that I'm from Coventry, except for recently, between the obnoxious signs. And worse than that, being Jewish, hearing the term Nazi is deeply upsetting to me. The reason I'm here, believe it or not, how appropriate, is the temple I belong to Temple B'nai Israel, has been getting together with the local NAACP, and we're having an event November 17th. And I'd like to personally invite you all. It's about hate and racism. So I hope to see you there. I'm going to pass this around. I think I have enough for everybody. And any of you are welcome to come to it's at Easter from 2 to 5.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak under audience of citizens? If not, I'll declare audience of citizens closed, and I have a special presentation to make this evening. For over 60 years, Sanborn Service Station has been a fixture in the town of Coventry. And for many of those years, Sandy Sanborn has been running that and operating it. And it's been just a wonderful, wonderful place in the village where so many people went to have their car serviced. So I would like to read this resolution. Resolution, Richard Sanborn Jr., service to Coventry. Whereas Richard Sandy Sanborn Jr. has retired and closed Sanborn Service Station, Inc., which was opened in Coventry Village in 1954-55 by his father, Richard Sanborn Sr. And whereas Sandy Sanborn, following his service in the Vietnam War, began working at the garage in April of 1971 and eventually took over the family business. And whereas Sanborn Service Station became a mainstay in Coventry during his ownership, offering reliable and economical service to its many customers. And whereas Sandy Sanborn's community commitment was demonstrated by the sponsorship of numerous events and Little League teams by Sanborn Service Station, and by his offering space in front of the garage to nonprofit groups such as Tara Farms and other local vendors during the annual Christmas in the Village and Arts on Main events. And whereas Sandy Sanborn's commitment to the community was further demonstrated over the years through his service on the Veterans Memorial Commission since January 21, 1997. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Coventry Town Council on this 4th day of November 2019 that the Town Council expresses its heartfelt appreciation to Sandy Sanborn for decades of dedicated service to the town of Coventry, and extends its best wishes for a happy and fulfilling future. So Sandy, if you would come forward. Thank you so much, Sandy, for all that you've done.
Thank you for where you're going. And I agree with everything that Joan said. great, Joe.
That's nice.
So thanks to the Sanborn family for all coming and being here to support Sandy. So our next item of business is the acceptance of minutes. And don't feel you have to stay here forever.
You're welcome.
But you're welcome to. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Madam Chair, I have a few. So Laura, I have a few. On page 3, the first full paragraph that starts with an overview of grants. Further into the paragraph, John replied, we spent $150,000, so there's about $10,000 left. I think that should be $100,000. God bless you. God bless you. And then
Nothing to
page
sneeze at.
5, Laura. Right about in the middle, the first full paragraph starting with building ownership was discussed. Next line down, Carolyn asked if the word asked is missing. Page 6. Sorry, Laura. Page 6 at the bottom, our bond rating upgrade. The A's should be capitalized. And also to add in there the bond premium of $244,600.
I'm sorry, where's that?
A resultant savings of $95,000 this fiscal year. We also realized the bond premium of $244,600. Page 7. Starting at the top, girls softball, S apostrophe. And then the next line down, the finance committee reviewed. And then the last one, I promise, IBS should be IV as in Victor for interactive voting system. And that may have been my mispronunciation.
I'm
that
sorry,
night.
where are we?
Oh, I'm sorry. We discussed the financial impact, so that paragraph. In 2 places it says IBS, it should be IVS, for V as in Victor. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Matt?
A couple of easy ones. On page 5, the top paragraph it's cut off, so where the line that said 432 square feet. It says Julie asked if the library have to close, so it has to.
I'm sorry, I'm not following where you are.
It's in the middle of the first paragraph.
First paragraph, said the line starting with said 432 square feet. Just change have to has to. No? Yes?
I'm still trying to find it.
The line that starts with said 432 square feet.
Okay. And it should be what?
Down here, instead of
Has to. Yep.
have, it should be has.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
And then, second paragraph, the last line, Carolyn said that water acerbates anything, assuming you said exacerbates?
Yes.
It wasn't here, but.
Yeah, you're right.
On page 8, real quick. The last bullet, third line, also towns to north of us, so just to the north. And then this is a question on the next one. It's on the same page under number 2, microgrid cogen update. It says we may need to get the senators on the energy committee involved, which includes Representative Eckert. Now, he's a representative, so I don't know if you wanted to say senators and representatives or something, or did you say representatives instead of senators, or?
I think,
Legislators instead of senators?
yeah, that'd be fine, or state elected officials.
Each one.
That's all I got.
Which do you want?
Would you do state elected officials?
Leave it to whoever says.
Does anyone else have any additions?
I have a couple. I have a couple. Oh, I'm sorry, Julie?
Yeah, I just called on Julie, John.
Mine
You're
is-
next.
Quick, on page 5, the first paragraph where it said 432 square feet, there was many numbers. Initially, Deb Walsh had said 1,900. The architect kind of chimed in almost 2,000. Then near the end, they kind of backed it down. And then I got an email with a new amount. So I don't know, I think she only sent it to me, so I can forward it to you, Joan. And Deb Walsh said that the upper level will be 918 square feet, the lower level will be 733 square feet, for a total of 1,651 square feet. And there's more about how it'll solve the problem with the water, so.
Okay.
That's an
I
email.
went with,
That's an
I
email.
went with the number that they clarified during the meeting, but I don't know about attaching an email
Yeah,
that
so
came after that.
I think
To the
maybe,
minutes.
But there were more
I
that,
listened to the
Maybe-
minutes too, they did say 2,000, they did
Yeah,
say
they-
1,900 something, so,
Yes, but then they clarified it to 432.
And that's
but
the wrong
I
number.
think they were guessing, because then that's not accurate either, so.
Okay, well, I can only go by what
Yeah,
they
why don't
said
you
during
look
the
before-
minutes.
yeah.
So
Go
do you
back
want
to
the
the
whole
transcript.
string of started with this and then said that and then said
No,
clarified
no.
it to be 432? Or do you want 432? It's up to you.
whatever,
I went with what
whatever,
they
it's
clarified.
probably accurate that if Deb said that, that statement remained. And tonight, we can always clarify that statement, or if there is another
I
statement
mean, I
that said
can
a
include
different.
all the numbers that were mentioned before they said 432, but it sounds like 432 isn't even correct, so I don't know. I simplified it
Yeah,
to what they clarified it
Can the
to.
clarification
Yeah,
be attached to the
I can
minutes?
Just use the right
forward
number?
the email
I know
to-
she didn't say it that night.
I don't know.
They're just trying to correct it.
Can you put an asterisk
Something
there,
after
see
the fact that
attached
didn't
for-
take place
for the
during the
detail?
meeting, so.
yeah,
we
if
can't
you
include it if
can't
it's not-
include it
it's
if
after
it's
the
not,
fact.
wasn't in the meeting.
I
So-
will submit the
Well,
email.
2,000 and 1,900 were in the minutes.
Can be attached to tonight's minutes, perhaps, so.
Maybe we should go back to the
It could be done, something could be done under your report at this meeting if you want to do that.
Or an option would be just to strike that square footage,
Mm-hmm.
and just so it's not incorrect. Because you choose what's in the minutes or not, but if you want to not have incorrect information, you could just strike.
Well, maybe that's the best.
That makes
thing.
sense to me, given that we now
fine.
seem to think it's pretty wrong, is to just strike it from the record. The specific thing, so it is not incorrect, that's out there in the minutes.
I'm okay with
And then
that,
we
but
can-
do you want to include this in your report?
I still want to
In
get
her
the email
report,
out,
but-
because I'm just
yeah.
trying to log into my town one. I don't want to send it from my personal one, so I will get it to Joan, and then she can forward it to the council, and hopefully it can be attached to tonight's minutes.
Is-
That's all.
So what is the
Just
consensus?
strike it from the minutes because it's not accurate.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you can attach this to
To
the
tonight's minutes, not these minutes, but.
Okay.
So maybe
Your report.
leave the question there, but strike Deb Walsh said 432 square feet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying, John?
We could
Didn't
say
sound
something
what
like
you said.
variety of answers.
I know.
Yeah.
So right now,
That might be the most accurate thing to say, various answers were given, and just
There you
leave it
go.
as the vague.
Yeah.
I like
Various
that.
answers were given.
John, you had
Which was
something
certainly
to?
the case.
Another correction?
Yes, if Julie's done.
That was it.
Okay.
You guys
So-
caught everything else.
Yeah, obviously not.
On page 2, the second to last paragraph, about halfway, there's a line that ends with the number 120 in numerals. I believe that should be 120,000. We hosted over 120,000 internet sessions.
Yes,
Not
that's correct.
120
would be one day.
Yeah,
It was in the PowerPoint presentation.
yeah, it's,
Yes.
you have that one?
Anyone have anything else?
Oh, I'm not done.
Okay.
Sorry. I have caught all those. Okay. On page 6, under B, council members, second paragraph, Jonathan Hand. Second line, about in the middle, it says, currently says, "It is not really vapor, it is oil." I'm very sure that I stated that it's not really water vapor. I think that's a key piece of information. It's not really water vapor. And then it should say after, so change it to say, "It is not really water vapor, semicolon, it is an," so I'd like to insert the word "an," oil aerosol, which is tiny droplets of oil.
That's what you said in the meeting.
That I think I did
Yeah.
get down into that level of detail, because that was the most important part of what I heard at that meeting on vaping, was that it's not water vapor, it's oil, and when you do that, you're coating your lungs with oil. There's no way to get the oil off. In an autopsy, if somebody dies from that, they use alcohol and will swipe it off like that, but there's no other way to get it off. It sticks and it's there, and then you have trouble breathing. So that was a very key
That's
point of the whole
important, yeah.
presentation, so
Yes.
that's why I'm being so specific about it. You already cut the capitalization. Nope, that's it for me.
Okay, anyone else? If not, excuse me, all in favor of the minutes as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there anyone who wishes to remove anything from the consent agenda? Julie?
I think I wanted to remove the finance minutes, item 6D1.
Anyone else? If not, all in favor of the consent agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Reports. I really don't have anything to report other than there are church fairs taking place this weekend, both St. Mary's and Second Congregational Church. St. Mary's, I believe, is Friday night and Saturday, and Second Congregational Church is Saturday. So just to give that out to the community. Lisa?
I just had a very brief report, just wanted to mention for the next council, as we have an election tomorrow, that I was talking to Cindy Hauser of the Lions Club over the course of the past 2 weekends, and she suggested that for the Christmas in the Village event, that both the town council and the Board of Ed purchase trees and decorate them and have a little contest. So I thought that would be a kind of cute way of supporting that event. But it's something for the next council.
Carolyn?
Yeah, I have a couple things, Madam Chair, thank you. So the first one, I know it's been on social media, but I just wanted to bring the article in just to log it in with the minutes, that Sandra Astor Stave was featured in the Journal Inquirer. They have an insert on the weekend papers, and so it was featured there. So I just wanted to give that to
It was
Laura.
a very nice
It
story.
was very nice.
Of our
Yeah, about
service
her
to
and
the
her husband
community.
and the service to the community, yes, very nice. The Chili Fest took place this past weekend in town, so that competition, that was a lot of fun, a lot of great chili cooks there, so that was a lot of fun. And I also just wanted to give a report on the Board of Ed contracts, that the Board of Ed and the Teachers Union
Does that need to be an executive session?
No, 'cause I'm not giving it any details. I did double check. So it's just that it's going through.
Okay.
They finalized it in terms of going through, working with the mediator, and it has to go through ratification and the board is hoping, I believe, by next meeting that they'll be able to present it to council. So, yeah, but otherwise, no details
They
on
went
it.
to arbitration, is that what you're saying?
No, the mediator. Right, the mediator
Mediation.
comes before, yeah, so the mediator, just, yeah, so.
So thank
And
you
they
for
worked out, yeah, they worked out the
representing us.
details. Yeah, there were a lot of details to it, so yeah, they worked that out. So it's an interesting process, so thank you for appointing me to do that. So it was, I've never worked with union negotiations before, so it was very interesting, learning experience.
So they've reached a tentative agreement, which has to be ratified by both the
Yeah.
union and the Board of Ed, and then it gets forwarded over for town council consideration. And possible action or inaction as they may choose.
So thank you, Carolyn.
Thanks.
John?
Yes, I would like to, let's see, earlier this evening, you recognized somebody for a great achievement in the town, and given that this is the close of the term, and it seems like this is your final stint, I'm guessing, as chair, Madam Chair of the Town Council, I just want to give you a hug and thank you for your very capable leadership of this Town Council. as chair, and that's it. I want to do that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure serving with you. Thanks. And Chili Fest was great.
Mike?
Well, John kind of stole my thunder.
Uh-oh.
But I was going to say, Joan, it's been really great to work under your leadership. And obviously tomorrow being an election day, and the board and the council and all the other positions are at stake. And I encourage all the citizens to go out and vote. And regardless of how you want to vote, there's a lot of citizen volunteers that have put their name in the hat and want to continue to serve this town. But it's been a pleasure working with this group, and Joan, your leadership has been amazing, and you're an inspiration to all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
John already mentioned the Veterans Day luncheon was held today at the Patriots Park, and it was a great event. I thought it was very nice. It was well attended. The food was terrific, and it came from where did it come from?
Highland Park.
Highland Park, yeah, Highland Park Market. And the speakers were terrific. One of the things that we had, Jamie DiPiola spoke about the history of women in the Marines, and so I thought it was very informative, and it was a really nice day. I think it's terrific when we honor our veterans, and it was nice to have that opportunity. John was there and spoke well as well.
You're just saying that because it was very brief.
I didn't say why it was good.
I knew I had two other speakers, so I did keep it to amazingly short.
Could have got away without telling them.
So now we know you can do it, John.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Now we'll find out. Really late in the game here.
No one else under council report? Okay, steering committee, John.
Yes, all right, here we are. We'll cut right to it. We have some reappointments and some appointments. So, first up, I move that we reappoint Kevin Arpin to the Cemetery Commission for a new term to expire 10/17/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I further move to reappoint John Marvin to the Cemetery Commission for a new term to expire 10/17/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any further nominations? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I move to reappoint Ann Vietten, if I'm saying that correctly, Vietten, to the Cemetery Commission for a new term to expire 10/17/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further nominations? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I move to reappoint, well, I'm seeing that, and to reappoint Lori Mathau to the Inland Wetlands Agency for a new term to expire 9/15/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further nominations? And we just want to emphasize how the service of Laurie. Laurie served on that commission for many, many years, so we thank her for continuing to serve.
Absolutely.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I move to reappoint Darby Polanski to Planning and Zoning Commission for a new term to expire 11/1/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further nominations? And again, a thanks to Darby for serving so many years. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Now we move to appointments. I move to appoint Patricia Laramie as a full member of the Inland Wetlands Agency for a new term to expire 9/15/2022.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
I just had a question. This-
Okay.
This says reappointment on the page, is that
Well, she
correct?
was,
Okay.
yeah,
I can
go ahead, John.
go as Sheriff Steering. So she reapplied to continue being an alternate,
Okay.
but a vacancy opened up.
Oh,
And she's
okay.
the most senior alternate, and so should be moving into the full position, which is what's happening right here.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay.
So if no further nominations, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I move to appoint Sandra Astor Stave to the, I want to get the name correct here, to the Senior Housing Alternative Study Committee as an at-large member.
Is there a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further nominations? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I move to appoint Roberta Wilmot to the Senior Housing Alternative Study Committee as an at-large member.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded.
We'll give it to Julie.
Any further nominations? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So I guess we're down to the finance minutes.
Yes,
Julie,
we
you asked
are.
that this be removed.
Yep, I just wanted to maybe ask for clarification. On the right ones, I apologize. On page 2, paragraph 4, the cost of the Republican primary. We didn't have a primary as a result of errors. That kind of played into the whole thing, but we had a primary because Republican people wanted to be on the ballot.
Yeah, so that was discussed at the Finance Committee, that the cost of the primary itself was,
She's looking at the language in the...
okay.
Yeah,
But-
and so these haven't been gone through the finance committee yet, so
But-
they're not final. We
But
haven't,
at the meeting, it was made clear that the cost of a primary was not included in these numbers, because that is a right. So it's the additional cost.
She says
Okay.
the sentence says Republican primary as a result of errors made by
Yeah.
a Republican voter.
So that will need to be hashed out.
yeah, so again, this hasn't gone back through finance for review, so, point taken, Julie, thank you.
That's all, Julie? That- oh,
It's just a
okay.
question.
Cost.
Culver, John?
We're still working on the scale.
Oh, that was,
It's on consent, but
Is that union scale?
I don't remember where the language is, but it said the scale was wrong, but was it the pad that was made incorrectly? Or is the
no,
scale
the we're going to take a new, you want to take it off consent, or I could go fast. The scale that came in was too short for the existing pad. So the vendor who measured it wrong has to now extend the pad to make that scale work.
So if the scale's too small for the pad, that means the pad's bigger than the scale. And you're
Right.
going to add to the scale? I mean, you're going to add to the...
No, the scale is too short for the existing pads where it rests on. So they have to lengthen.
Oh, short height.
No,
Not
Can I shed a couple of words here?
Yeah.
The pad
Yeah.
is essentially a hole in the ground.
Okay.
So the hole's
It's
too
not
big
concrete
right
pad.
now, the scale is too short. If you go to do it there, it's going to drop into the hole
Okay.
instead of sitting on the two ends.
So it doesn't rise?
no, they have to
So
extend.
they have to
Okay.
fill in some more concrete so that it can land at either
It's
end.
Just the language.
At their cost.
Okay. So we're going to use the scale that we have, even though it's the wrong one?
They're going to, the length doesn't matter to us,
Okay.
so the new scale will be installed at their cost. They just have to add a foot to the concrete abutment.
Okay. And you know why we ordered the wrong one?
We didn't order it. They
Okay.
came out and measured it, and they measured it wrong.
Oh, gosh.
They admit they goofed.
Okay, very good.
So just as a point though, I think that the quickest solution is probably pouring the concrete
Yes.
as opposed to waiting for them to
Otherwise,
fabricate
we
a
have to
new
wait 6 to 8
proper size
weeks to
scale.
get the right size scale.
Yeah, because it took a couple months for them to scale
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
so, John, can we move on to project memo?
Sure. So you have a project memo from me, a couple things just to highlight, and I just wanted to show you a couple photos, if I can, because we're being featured by Green Bank for our solar. And if I can put the projector on. So, I asked Laura just to throw some of the pictures that we got because it's just really nice drone footage, and you're going to see things that we don't see from the ground when we think about the solar up here at this complex, and we have the rights to use these photos.
Do you want to hold all the lights off, Jen?
Yeah, I think we need
Yeah.
more.
It's still warming up.
It is warming up, it will get brighter, but
Oh, that's better.
it's a lot better.
Figure out how to make it go to presentation here.
You're looking at PDF.
Okay, so obviously the town hall, you could kind of see it with the carports behind.
There's town hall.
And there's the middle school and the roofs, but kind of fly in and you can kind of see kind of a different angle of the carports. Really nice softball field, by the way.
With changes.
But that's
Wow.
the middle school roof.
Huh?
So people don't know how much solar's up there, but I thought it was just impressive to kind of see that view.
Sure is.
Wow.
And I'm trying to see what it spells, but
It's like a computer chip.
anyways, I just thought it was a different angle that you really haven't ever seen how much is there, so I just thought I'd share it with you.
Thank you.
Fantastic,
Yeah, thank you, that's impressive.
That is, that's a nice sound.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
The whole array of panels are.
And we just won also the Sustainability Photo of the Month picture because we had a rainbow over carports. So
Oh, cool.
that will get up on the web soon. So, assuming it doesn't snow much, we've cut our keyways and we're starting to do the shimming over the next couple weeks and the paving for Jones Crossing. So we're getting into it. You can pave as long as it's above 32 degrees and rising. So even if it snows, will be delayed, but they'll come back and take care of it. It's just tough to get, we signed up in April to get some of this work done, shimming.
Are they doing more work on the stone wall eventually, or that's what Todd told me? And that's why
I have to check.
Yeah.
This is on Jones Crossing?
We did a purchase order for additional work down there with the
The bridge came out beautiful, it's
Yeah, it
impressive
sure
to
did.
see it in person.
That project is coming in very much under budget. We're actually going to be able to return some of the funds to CNRE off that project.
Good.
So that we were very excited about that.
So
That's wonderful.
we were able to apply for a grant that opened up after we did this, but we had paid for the engineering out of CNRF, so the money will get kind of returned to CNRF.
Okay.
Or some of it, not
Some
all
of
of
it.
it.
Almost about half of it.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow.
So Wrights Mill road work, which is a long-standing drainage issue where there's always been a little puddle in the road that in the winter kind of freezes up. So that's underway with the Sunset Construction is doing the work. And we've awarded the work for Noon's construction for Northfield, started the catch basin replacements. So that work will be starting up soon too. When they're shimming, they'll also do the final paving at Jones Crossing. So we're on the home stretch. Generally, you have the whole month of November to finish paving projects, but
We're just thrilled not to have to go all the way around.
it's a long detour. Today, I received my formal appointment by the governor to the Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations, which oversees, it's been reconstituted. It's going to oversee a lot of the regionalism aspects of how the state can try to become more efficient. So I attended my first meeting on Friday.
Well, congratulations, John.
Yes,
Thanks.
that's wonderful.
That's huge.
On my desk, I have 3 RFPs that I'm working on, requests for proposals. One to select engineers for the softball fields. So I have the draft of that from the last time, and we're trying to make a modification. In the meantime, we did ask Anchor Engineering, who was down working on the landfill, kind of the methane
The venting.
gas venting systems, and we're getting ready to start that work. And they will be submitting a proposal to us, so we just have to make sure that they all submit the...
You mentioned you have to get a new permit. Is that something that's expensive, or how?
The process of getting a permit is expensive, but that anytime you touch the cap,
Yeah.
and the clay is separated, so we have to repair the cap. It's relatively
They
fast,
just have
but
to inspect it again. So.
yeah, it's relatively fast to get because it's not changing it, it's just repairing it. But it's unfortunately expensive. The school building committee has decided to seek proposals to do design build for the unit ventilators versus, we tried the traditional engineering approach, went out, we weren't thrilled with the company that we were working with. Their prices were way off on the fuel tanks, and when they actually came in for a price for this, it was much above their estimate that they told us the budget for in bonding for engineering for the unit ventilators. I reached out to Matt Mullen, who used to be on our energy committee, and he came in and talked to school building committee about going to a design build approach for HVAC where you don't need the complex bid specs, but you're basically hiring an engineer and construction firm. So he made clear his firm does that work. He gave us New England Mechanical, which we often use. They did the library work. But he gave us a draft of an RFP that we'll tweak to send it out for firms to look at design build. But it saves money in that you're not getting down into the detail of this joint shall be this name brand, joint, and instead you just need the basic plans that you can get the building official to approve it, and they take the risk of both the design and the implementation, so they give you a price and up front. So you're bidding competitively bidding in a different way. You're picking a firm that has the capability of design and to install. So you're cutting out a lot of process, which if we want to do it this summer, we would have to speed that up. So that's a priority to get out for the building committee. And there's a whole bunch of firms that do this type of work. It's the way the private sector does HVAC work all the time. He gave us advice on how to make sure you do it right. That's it. I just want to let you know that's the approach we're going to be taking, and the building committee will meet to review the draft RFP before it goes out. I also have on my desk a forestry management RFP, which will wait till I have a little bit more time to start looking at some forestry management in some of our town parks and open spaces.
Fortunately, a lot of the trees just came down, so
Yeah.
it saves a little time.
Mother Nature took care of forestry.
Yeah, we haven't seen the start of that. I mean, we just have seen the start of it. It's going to be really bad. We're virtually out of money already for this year.
Do you have any idea, report, or anything with regards to the storm from Friday, in terms of the impact of the town and services, DPW's efforts?
We're still putting things together. I mean, the last road just got opened this afternoon. Frontier had to get out here, and they just didn't. So they didn't get out here till today, but it was phone wires, not electrical, so the electric company wasn't going to mess with the tree that was blocking Seagraves. So that was the last road. We may have one or two people that are still stragglers, and I didn't get it back to my house till 3 o'clock on Saturday. Closure, to reconnect the fuse in front of my neighbor and I.
I know we talk a lot about trying to allocate money towards tree management along the sides of our roads. In your opinion, is this any sort of an indicator of future needs? And
We've been doubling that budget, and we're gonna have to continue to double it or put in a whole bunch more. This year, we did put money into the LoCIP program for that, and the state hasn't funded LoCIP, Town Aid for Road, or STEEP programs.
That's my question. So if we wanted to talk about the grants we're not receiving because he's not approving the bond
Right.
package.
It's significant. So that's $30,000 worth of tree work that we can't do because they haven't finished up the last year's budget. And Town Aid for Road, you know, we're already out 101,000 for this year, and at some point we'll have to reach a decision that we just got to stop. So it's all tied up with tolls. I mean, it just is. It's the whole bonding package is just tied up with tolls. So, and they did pass a law on a loan program for that kind of what happens when you're don't have all the money for crumbling foundations that it cost, and they announced today that they're going to start taking applications for that very low interest loan to supplement if you're in the foundation replacement. So that's good news, and we'll gather more information on that and get it out to people.
Sidewalk decks, everything.
Yeah, you know, there's just a lot, all your landscaping goes, I mean, but a lot of times there's other things that you have to do just to pull your house back together that's not really covered.
How much is the backlog on the list, John, do you know?
About 55 million.
Wow.
No, I mean, right now, they keep starting and stopping. They just got another allocation of money, but they've already,
It's allocated.
it's allocated. But the reality is right now, there are probably not enough contractors available to keep it, you know, to keep it working. Some people are on a 2-year waiting list for contractors, so. But you can't sign a contract to, you know, really sign a contract to get on that list till you have the money, so it's kind of this catch-22. But, you know, it's, all I can say is everyone has done an amazing job to get to where we are in 2 years. It's just really phenomenal when people work on it, but we can't let our guard down. We have to keep going. And at the Washington level, they are finally putting in some money, hopefully if it stays in whatever budget process, but it's in there right now, but you never know when something will.
1.5 million, you're asking for 4, yeah.
To start doing standards for what the right amount is and, you know, do some more science on it. So,
Exactly.
That's what UConn's supposed to be working on too, though.
UConn is.
They are.
So was it?
And the military is also looking at some things too, so there's progress being made. And I know when it affects you personally, you don't think it's fast enough, but at the pace of how governments work, this is phenomenal. And I think a lot of people do know, and you know, we've already seen houses touching back down, so.
If you're granted an award, say, is there a time frame when you have to use it by or anything, or how does that work?
I don't know,
Okay.
frankly. I think there's...
Someone that I know was awarded it, and he's not doing it right away, and I'm like, I don't know if you should just wait.
Yeah. So the person that runs that program had quit, and he's staying on for a little while longer while they look for a replacement. But he did an excellent job. He was used to the private insurance sector and was not used to the sector where you get yelled at all the time. So I think he was finally recognizing that it's extremely emotional, and you're going to have to just take a little bit of that. But I don't think he wants to stay. But he really got the program up and running amazingly fast. So that's my report, unless you have questions.
Anyone have any questions? Matt?
I just was wondering, John, if you can give us a quick update on the Bolton Lake extension, I mean, the Bolton sewer extension. Last year, we were wondering, you were deciding whether we had to go through DEP and...
So
We were waiting or something.
yeah, Mike Roof, our sewer coordinator, talked with DEP about whether we needed to respond to the Council of Environmental Quality statement, and they said don't. And then we said, well, and then we waited a while, and he reached out, and a draft letter has been to us. It was prepared at least a week and a half ago by staff, but it has not been released, so we don't know. But we're expecting soon to know what the next step is.
Yeah.
So one of the next steps are basically to start the formalization of contracts with Bolton and ultimately Manchester for the treatment. Another would be that we'd have to, consider whether we're willing to pay for a full environmental impact statement, which would be very significant dollars. And frankly, for the area that we're talking about, it was studied as part of the Bolton area because it's peripheral. And there's no endangered species, but the statement that came through the Council of Environmental Quality talked about impacting development in Bolton. Well, no, Bolton already has sewers. Vernon, Vernon already has sewers, and it's kind of far away from Route 44. So there were just a lot of just factual errors in that, and we had negotiated down significantly from our initial proposal, which was going to include Twin Hills, and because they had concerns, even though there's septics that aren't working there. So it's just a confusing department to sometimes deal with. So I don't have any more update, except it appears that we're waiting for a letter.
Just because there's an election tomorrow, the microgrid, just want to do a last update.
It's not on the agenda.
It's
Oh, okay.
next item.
Okay, good.
If I could just ask about an update on the community center floor.
Yeah, that's also on the agenda where we're asking for money.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so we'll get to that.
And I just had a question on Laidlaw Park. You talked about scheduling a test for possible septic system. Is there like an option to just do a smaller holding tank that gets pumped out more often than a full-fledged septic system for a park that's only open so many hours?
Yeah, it's difficult is the answer. The State Department of Environmental Protection doesn't like holding tanks. We had to jump through amazing hoops to get what in essence is a holding tank at Lasicki Beach. But it's a special permit application that's rarely given, and you have to prove that you can't do anything else. So we don't know that, but a deep hole test is just a matter of a couple hours of the backhoe, and we just haven't had it. The unit that we bought for $50 could have a holding tank. So it's not something that we haven't thought of, because that would be the simplest thing. Is just have the company come pump it out once a week or every other week even.
Yeah.
But if we find fairly good soils, the septic system should not be expensive to install. But interestingly enough, I think people are hearing it. We've been talking about it because somebody just keeps knocking over the porta potties, which is kind of a gross thing.
Very business. I have one more question. In your report, you mentioned the school parking lot is being tweaked to add queuing for more buses. I assume that's CGS?
Yes. So we haven't had time to work on the design, but the goal is still to get it out to bid for start of mid-June construction. But we are prioritizing. We're working right now on Folly Lane Bridge and Swamp Road plans, and we have a public information meeting coming up end of November for the public, for that Northfield Swamp Road.
Did anyone go to the Folly Lane Bridge?
2 people. Concerns about raptors not being able to fish because the bridge is 10 feet wider.
I have one on, I just wanted to say, driving in tonight, you can see the lots of progress on the flagpole project. It's looking really good.
Thank you. So we're using MCS Landscaping out of town here. They're in town. And they have guidance from their uncle, Geo Construction out of Manchester. And I will say you never know when you dig a hole in town. We hit 8 feet of topsoil.
Wow.
Which, you tell me anywhere else in town, they hit 8 feet of topsoil. So we actually had to remove that
Yeah.
and bring in structural fill.
Yeah.
So we had truck
That made it
loads.
get lots cheaper, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Ain't dirt cheap.
Thanks, John.
so I'm not graveling for money for that item. But you just never know what you're going to encounter. It's like, he's going awful deep there, and it's like really good topsoil, which
Yeah.
it's like back here where we need the topsoil, it's about this deep.
Yeah, of course.
I would expect that, depending how the weather holds out this week, the brick may go in this week.
Very nice.
Any other questions?
All right, so I'll move on to microgrid.
Slash cogen.
Yes, slash cogeneration plant.
Slash cogeneration. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern. The microgrid LLC team has a question to DEP that they're not answering. Before they write a check to Eversource for $25,000, they want to know whether, if the project fails to go forward, whether they'll get the money back. And DEP hasn't answered that. So I did talk to Representative Acker today at lunch to say, can you set up a meeting with the right people to talk about this? And at least give us an answer. Because we're in this holding pattern until we know. They don't want us to risk $25,000 if at the end Eversource says it's going to be $8 million worth of things, and financially it's just not viable.
They've already really invested so much into this project.
That's that, and on top of the changing of the payment conditions.
Are they working on that, John, to reverse that stuff?
Well, that will be part of our discussion, I think. So Representative Acker told him to make a call to a deputy commissioner to try to set up a meeting. So you don't want to hold those meetings unless you have to, but we've given them 3 weeks to get an answer. But at this point, I think at least getting an answer is fair. And we'll try to see whether there's any possibility that they can look at having the contract reflect prior contracts to do progress payments, like on a monthly basis, which is what most state grants have done. So, it's something that wasn't expected. So, aside from that, they have been able to fine tune things like the number of batteries they need has been reduced, so that will reduce expenses. The engineering firm is this week starting to install what they call tiles, which are little electronic monitors that are going in the various circuits to do peak demand readings at their risk and at their expense, although we may need to drill one hole through the radio tower just to run a wire through. But they are proceeding ahead with that to again fine tune some of their engineering. So it hasn't come to a total stop. Tumalo Engineering is doing that at their risk.
And, how long ago did they ask? DEP?
3 weeks. So, they're exploring other opportunities, especially the financing package. They're continuing to have discussions with financing agencies to look at it. So.
And the good news about the silver certification.
Yeah.
Yes, we're very pleased to join the ranks of the few that were silver. Our town staff team worked hard at that. We were able to get 480 points. We only needed 400. So if they come out with gold and it's 500, we only need 20 points more.
Going for the gold already.
They don't have gold yet, but their formal certificate presentation will be with the CCM convention. But they had a little gathering last Thursday night at the New Britain Museum of American Art, and interestingly enough, they announced a more comprehensive grant award program that's available to towns and nonprofit agencies within our town for up to $50,000 for projects.
It's a dollar for dollar match, right?
And it has to be crowdfunded.
Oh.
You gotta have five, at least five, right?
So it's an interesting approach, but they want community involvement, not just taxpayer involvement. I mean, I assume that we could be a partner in that crowdfunding, but we're going to start
We cannot be a part of that. No, we
as
can.
private citizens.
As in, you can as a private
Yeah.
citizen, but the town cannot. The
So-
town can help facilitate it and coordinate. I think it would be helpful to work with local agencies like the Lions Club and whatnot. I know Wendy, our Parks and Rec director, has been talking to Sustainable CT already about it, but it is definitely a dollar for dollar matching.
So we initially had these, let's do 50,000 and do like a community kitchen for people to do home cooking, that, for sales, that you need a commercial kitchen. We scaled back to, let's go back to the greenhouse. And that would be something much more likely that we could, through crowdsourcing, could get some money. But it's available to non-governmental agencies too.
How many towns now have obtained silver?
I think
It says 47, that's what I wanted to ask. It says this collectively 47 municipalities have earned sustainable CT certification, but that's not all silver, right?
No,
That's a
I think it's
combination.
14.
That's all,
14?
It was like 9.
9 for 2019.
Yeah, 9 this
Which
year
is-
and a total of 14.
Right.
So we're one of 14 in the state.
Yeah,
Oh, that's excellent.
And we were one of 5 to
That
go
moved up.
in a year,
yeah.
which is amazing. Congratulations to you and the staff for all your
Staff.
hard work.
Yeah. Kudos to
Great
the
job.
town
We know you
staff
had to
for
put in a
all the
lot
work
of
they've done.
time
It's
under
a
the
council
gun.
goal. We do meet those council goals and try to perform on them, so.
The council
Well, thank you.
appreciates it, certainly. All the
So,
hard work that went into getting that.
but we do learn a lot about it, about ourselves. And again, we're going to be featured in this Green Bank advertising brochure about what we're really doing, how much we're doing, to show where we are, so.
And John, if and when the microgrid is actually put in place, will that certainly help us? Should they put in a higher level for this program?
Yeah. It will help us. I mean, most importantly, if we get the microgrid and we also have this virtual net metering application in there, we will be generating almost the total output of the town. We'll almost have all our town buildings off-grid.
And
Wow.
that could actually catapult us to the top of the list?
We will probably be one of the most, non-traditional powered. You have to be careful because natural gas, some people still consider it a dirty fuel, but the way it's being used.
It's cleaner.
Well, natural gas is much cleaner than oil anyway, it just is. But we're going to be using heat off that, which also, and people forget that any electricity running through lines, you lose power through the lines, through resistance. So generating close to the source is more energy efficient too. But for us, it also means we get bulk discounts on the natural gas, which is very significant. And I don't think anyone fully thought when we took that brave step to bring natural gas in, and all the potentials that it would open up. So,
Of course we knew that, John. What do you think?
well, maybe you did. But I knew it was a good thing, but I think there was leadership, again, led by the council to make that happen.
Capital budget?
Capital budget, it's that time already. And tonight you have a revised budget calendar. The only change is the Board of Ed will push back their meeting with the council until after the hearing. And there have been times where we've had it before the hearing. The way it falls, the calendar creeps forward and eventually you have to push those meetings back because I can't get you the budget on a timely basis and then have the legally required advertising time and get the public hearing in. So the public hearing had to move back a week because of advertising time, and the Board of Ed really preferred coming to, instead of the traditional come on the night the finance would meet, they're going to come back at the regular next council meeting. So we'll just move groups around, it'll be fine, but, so we made that change at their request. And the budget manual is this week.
Coming up Friday.
I'm sure everyone's excited about it.
Oh,
Yes. Amanda is.
lots of positive feedback.
Again.
That time of year already?
So, Reach Across America, Amanda's going to spend a minute or two talking about that.
I'm one of the staff representatives on the Cemetery Commission, so I wanted to take a moment to talk about this. This will be the second year in a row that the Coventry Cemetery Commission will be participating in the National Wreaths Across America event, which is a special ceremony to honor our veterans and cemeteries across the nation. It'll be Saturday, December 14th at Coventry Cemetery, 392 Main Street at noon. We're going to have speakers and the high school band will be there, and there's a very nice ceremonial presentation of placing a wreath on each of the veterans in Coventry Cemetery. We are accepting donations of $15 for each wreath. This year we're hoping to once again cover every veteran in Coventry Cemetery. And while the presentations at Coventry Cemetery, we are opening it up this year that if you'd like to purchase a wreath for Nathan Hale, Grant Hill, or St. Mary's, you may purchase the wreath and just pick it up on December 14th from Coventry Cemetery. If you're making a donation to a specific veteran or a specific cemetery, we ask that donations get sent by check to Wreaths Across America to the finance office at the town hall. And if not, you can also make just a general donation to the program on wreathacrossamerica.org. We're taking donations till November 30th. Any extra money we have will roll into next year's program. We did have some money left from last year, so we're excited to continue this forward and expand it this year.
Do you know if you're going to be expanding it to any of the, I know last year we did it, the one cemetery, are we expanding it to
The presentation itself will still be at Coventry Cemetery this year. Just location-wise, we kind of have that worked out, but we are opening it up that if you want to purchase wreaths for other cemeteries this year, you can purchase them and pick them up and place them yourself. We did talk about changing the location year after year. Last year, since we've only did the one cemetery, we're opening it up to more cemeteries, and then we'll review placement of the wreaths and try to start rotating through the various ceremonies as we go through each year.
But not all the cemeteries are town, so some may choose not to participate, and we can't control that. I think St. Mary's already says they will.
St. Mary's is participating this year, yes.
But there's another large cemetery on Route 44 which is not participating.
maybe my grandfather's like next door, so that's why I was.
And St. Mary's is participating,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
that'd be fine.
absolutely, yeah, you can come pick the wreath up and then go.
Walk it over.
Well, I mean, I just want to say that a few of us on council did go to that last year to represent the council, and it was a beautiful ceremony, especially considering it was the first time. It was very well organized, it was well attended. I think there were wreaths for every veteran in Coventry in the cemetery. And so I'm looking forward to it, whether I'm on council or not. I'm planning on going. So it was a beautiful ceremony last year, and I'm glad to see that it's going to continue.
We're very excited about it.
Yeah.
And I approve.
I just want
I
to say I'm
second what she
disappointed
said.
that Center Cemetery is not participating.
I believe one of the members of the commission did reach out. I'm not sure if they didn't get a response back in time, because we have been trying to start getting word of mouth out about this and getting donations.
I'm going to
in.
try to reach out to them too,
Okay,
Amanda.
that would be great. Thank you. Let me know, because I can get the committee member who's kind of forwarding this effort involved as well.
I have, my husband's buried there, and he was a veteran, and so are my great-grandparents, so.
Absolutely. That would be great. Have as many on board as possible.
And Claudine, I'm sorry, I don't know her last name, but Claudine in town started that last year. What's her last name?
You just reappointed her, but
Yes,
she
you did.
she used a different first name.
I didn't make the connection. But she started it
Yeah.
last year
She
because
does
she
a
wanted to
tremendous
honor her
amount.
father's memory, and
Yeah.
that really added a heartfelt element to it.
It's a very passionate group of people on that commission. It's actually very fun to be a part of that. So we're looking forward to the event. We hope everyone can attend, and again, specific donations should come to finance at the town hall.
Yeah, great
Thank you.
event.
Thank you, Amanda.
In the last end of my report, I just shared an article that somehow on nights and weekends, I was able to work and then finish it up a little bit on the town time. But being on some of the boards and commissions, state agencies that I'm on, I sometimes get advanced previews of things that are coming, and I think the state can do a better job at planning for 5G. I think it's very exciting what can happen here, but if we're not careful, the rural areas will not get coverage. And I think the state did well when they did cable TV and required virtually universal coverage. And that does mean that somebody's subsidizing others, but it's not fair that you're discriminated based on your zip code.
Right.
And when they did cell phones, they required them to share towers. And there's no discussion right now about sharing antennas on top of telephone poles. And whether you believe that it's frying birds or that there's health effects, less of them would just be better and more cost effective. So, and they're also proposing to run all their own fiber to each of those antennas. So you'll have 4 different companies running fiber to those poles. It just can't be, can't be cost effective. And we should make sure that it's cost effective to keep the price down. And the state has its own network that it could be used that has plenty of capacity. So those are just some thoughts that may be shouting to the wind, but if we don't do it right, it's not going to serve the state well.
It was an excellent article, John, very well
Very good, yeah.
thought out, and hopefully they'll follow some of your suggestions.
I hope so. I think
So-
the economic implications and educational implications are huge on this. So.
It's not a topic most people really think too much about, so it's certainly eye-opening.
So, thank you.
Can you speak a little more to the costs or the fees? Like, there was a thing that said the state should consider a fee of 1%. That's something the state will be collecting?
Well,
or towns, or?
I mean, right now, there's also already a universal service fee.
Right.
So, state, nationally, that fee is, an average is 2%. So it'd be half of what the average would be, but it would assure kind of everybody has it versus only the denser urban areas or the dense and urban and affluent areas. Because even right now, the north end of Hartford does not have high-speed internet. Because it's not economical for them, so they don't provide it. Where you go half a mile over the line into West Hartford and there's 5 carriers. So,
Which again speaks to economic impacts.
For internet?
yeah,
Broadband, yeah.
Yes.
there's private companies in West Hartford right now, you can get 100 meg speed, gig speed for $50 a year,
Be nice.
$50 a month for life. They'll never raise the rate.
Be nice if we can get fiber from around here.
So, our charter does
More than one
a
would be good.
charter does a
More than one
reasonable.
would be good.
Charter
Yeah,
does-
exactly, more than one would be good, I agree with you.
Charter does a reasonable speed, better than a lot of areas of the state, but we're paying for it, and there is no competition.
Right.
Frontier has given up, and, if you want 10 meg speed, you can get that for $21 a month, but it's your cell phone can beat it. So,
Well, thank you for doing that. New business, the revised personal policies and procedures.
Very
And Amanda, you've been working with us on that at steering.
I think it's fantastic policy. I don't know if John wants to say anything about it. The steering did a very, very thorough, detailed review, and we spent a lot of time going over it. I think it's at a very good point to move forward.
I concur, it was gone over with a fine tooth comb, and maybe too fine a tooth for some.
I thought it was a funny
Gee, I wonder
Fine tooth comma, very good. Well, listen, I tried to be a positive about that. But overall, definitely, it looks like we brought them up to up to 2019 kind of standards for stuff. And again, I think the more clear we can make it now, my guess is these won't be looked at again for some number of decades like they were in the past. So doing as good a job as we can, and however long the hours were, and I know they were long, But I think it's worth it. It's part of what we signed up to do when we got elected here, is to go and be capable stewards.
Still trying to sell us on it.
the thing.
So, just for the
We
whole
try.
council, just for the whole council, what you would be considering is the personnel rules. There's still various appendices that have to be
Have to be done.
added in.
So I was wondering, just formality, not, because I agree with everything that's been done, and I think you did a good job there. You did a good job too, John.
We all did a great job.
So, but I don't know if you can actually approve the entire package without the appendices, because it's referred to in there, and so you're not really able to, I'm just saying formally, we approve the whole thing. I'd say, like, accept all the changes that were recommended by the steering committee, and then, because I think a formal full to accept the whole package would be necessary if you're going to.
Well, the appendices are already there, so you just, it refers to the old appendices.
Okay.
So we just need to update the.
Okay,
update the-
well, in steering, we talked about not approving the appendices, okay, so that's different. So we're going to
So
approve
the
it
proper
with
motion would be to approve the revised personnel policies and procedures manual, sections 1 to 15 as recommended by the steering committee.
And then in the discussion, I would go on the record to say that we can't let the appendices go unmodified.
There you go. So moved.
So that's, you think that's.
Motion made by John, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion on the motion?
That's where you
I
want to
just
talk
want-
about the appendices?
No, let's talk about all 15 chapters, John.
Okay. Just a minute, let me call that up.
John
No, so-
held our noses to the grindstone at the last meeting, that's all we can say.
So before we get off track, I do want to make the little discussion item about the appendices still need further review and updating. So they're not part of what we're,
And we would hope the next council continues it and completes the job, right?
I agree with everything you just said there.
I just want to commend the steering committee, because I know that kind of work is very time consuming, so.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
We accept.
Thank you all.
And we, certainly want to thank Amanda for her
Oh, yes.
absolutely
So, and Laura was
And
big
Laura,
in
and
helping with
all of the
revisions,
staff
yeah.
involved, John,
Yeah.
all of the people that,
I wrote these when I was in Avon. And then
Wow.
Then I had to change them for here. So this time, I didn't have the stomach to spend as much time on them.
thanks,
That
question
counts
mark?
more than-
It is, and I will also say that because I've read them so many times, it was refreshing to hear people ask questions about what's the intent here. So the group process works very well in something like this, because when you become too close to it, you don't think of the other interpretations that can happen.
Yeah, you're so used to looking at it, you know what it intends, and so you don't realize what might be missing from someone who is not used to reading through it.
So any further discussion?
So just one question. The motion says we're only approving 1 through 15, but we have to accept the appendix, or it's not part of.
They're already on record. You're
Oh, so
not
that's,
replacing
we're just amending 1 through 15?
Yes.
That's it. And the appendix is still there? Gotcha. Okay.
So anything else? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're down to the pension attorney selection.
So Amanda also worked on this with the pension committee. We've not been thrilled with our current pension attorney. Things have been late. We've had to file for extensions to IRS because he was late in filing these updates. And just, so Amanda worked with the pension committee to say, can we test the market? It's a fairly specialized area of law. She put together an RFP, and wondering if you just.
Yeah. We got notice that our rates were going up on our current attorney, and after the service and then the rate increase, we really felt it was time to go and get a fresh look. So we did receive 3 proposals, all of them from very well qualified firms. The normal standard with the legal for the pension attorney is that you're charged at the rate of the person working. So the partner's $525-ish, and then the staff's down to $180. With the previous attorney we had, we were always getting charged $525, so I don't know if he was the only one doing the work or what it was. But Pullman and Conley offered a different approach to do a blended rate of $380 for all work done. So they really felt that would be advantageous to us from a financial aspect, and their proposal showed that they were well qualified. I reached out to the 3 references that they've given, and I got outstanding reviews on the attorney who put together our proposal. So at our last meeting, the pension committee did recommend moving forward with the selection of Pullman.
Do you have any indication at all as to a normal allocation from partner to associate? Because if it's a lot of associate time, then it may not be as right.
I had the same question.
Yep.
Matt.
It sounds
Given our historic billings from our current attorney, it looks
all
like
partner,
the
right?
partner
Yeah,
just
yeah, we all
really
only have
busy
partner.
all the time. So,
But did you-
and it is not, there's no designated length of time on this agreement with the pension attorney. So if we start getting into things and we realize that it's costing more or it's not advantageous to us, we can go back to the other two.
Can you have them still indicate who's doing the actual work? So
Yes,
you can do
oh,
a time-
absolutely, so we can review it,
time
yes,
study,
I'll make sure to do that when I talk to them.
It's a good plan.
And why,
It's very
why are they offering the blended rate?
I think they want the work. They've reached out to us before. Holman and Conley does our
Tax.
tax sales. And they've actually reached out, being interested to also be our bond counsel when we go to bonding. So like, they're very interested in picking up additional work. And again, we were very happy with Attorney Cohen and the tax sale work, so we're comfortable moving forward.
Oh, we're down to 2 on tax sale.
Oh, yeah, we're at
Oh.
tax sale.
Oh, one of them paid off?
Yeah.
That's encouraging. Okay.
So, the existing incumbent attorney asked for an extension to file the RFP. So that's...
Just to go in keeping with it.
Says it all right there.
Consistency.
So we said no.
I do like that idea to get the hourly breakup though, so that going forward I can kind of determine if we are
Yeah.
Yeah, you may
getting
not
an
be getting a
advantage
deal,
from this
you know,
or if
right.
we should just go back.
Yeah, when they bill you. yes.
And when do they start, Amanda?
Well, I'm waiting for council appointment so that I can notify them and then immediately.
So it's one of these issues, under the pension ordinance, they have the right to hire the actuary and Kenneth's pension and their attorney services. But under the charter, it says the council has the right. So I'm just bringing this before you just so that nobody argues that we're in violation of the council,
Of the charter.
of the charter.
And the pension committee agrees with your recommendation.
Yes.
The pension committee selected
selected.
this.
They
So we
said
need
that
a-
pending reference checks and the
We
reference
need the
checks.
motion to approve the pension committee's recommendation for Pullman and Conley,
Yes, please.
So moved.
the appointment.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded.
Either way, either way.
And just so you know, we will be going into pension negotiations with all 9 ASME units this year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that only took, 2.5 years last time. So at the end of those negotiations, not in negotiations, is during the negotiations, it's much more the actuary that plays a role. So you got to be careful about running up the bills during those negotiations. So, but it will be important at the end that the plan description will get modified as needed. So there'll be some more work than usual. But a lot of it is just routine ERISA. While we're not required to be ERISA compliant, we choose to be ERISA compliant because it's a very good standard. So a lot of these filings are just annual ERISA statements, and we're a little angry that they aren't keeping up. And I think we're still way overdue with the summary plan description books are supposed to be done every 2 years, and we don't have them. So, anyways, it was time for a fresh approach. And maybe we're too small an account, I don't know. But we're not going to get that feeling.
So any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're up to the appropriation of $9,500 for the drainage work at the community center.
Yeah. 2 pieces. First off, when they ripped the floor up and you could see everything, and I don't think I brought pictures. Meant to. Some of them may.
Right? Didn't you email out pictures?
Yes,
emailed them all.
yes,
I've seen it,
yes.
the floor ripped up, and you could see all the rotted lumber.
Like the center joist
Yeah.
was just kind of dissolved. It just, there was nothing there. So the contractor saying, yeah, that's kind of what we expected, but they're moving to the front wall along Lake Street, and that whole front seam is going to have to be replaced, and that wasn't something that they were anticipating. So it's really a contingency. they've got all the floor in the main room area removed and cleaned up and all the other miscellaneous stuff. And they reached an agreement with Joe Callahan about adding some sonotubes with gravel. So it's not just sitting on blocks, which is what it was, and modifying to various, in some cases they have to double up pressure treated
Joists?
joists to just carry the load better and have a longer longevity. So there's about a $5,500 contingency that we may not need until this week's at some point. And then there's $4,000 to build a drain, a curtain drain around the building to get, right now the gutters go, just drains straight down and goes under the building. So we gotta get that water out of there. And then a curtain drain on the hill coming down from the cemetery to get the water past. So all the water is just going under the building.
Matt?
Move to appropriate up to $9,500 from CNREF for drainage work around the exterior of the community center. And
Second.
I did say up to.
Yes.
Second.
Is that the correct?
Yeah, and additional, and contingency. It's not just.
That was part of the 9,500?
It is, but I think just a drainage, and I think we.
I just read the motion enough to.
Yeah.
So is there something else you want to add to it?
It's drainage and contingency work.
Drainage and contingency work.
Thank you.
And it was seconded?
Yep, seconded, second accepts the amendment.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries unanimously. The crosswalk.
So, I mentioned that Todd Penny had reached out to Connecticut DOT. They wanted more work from a traffic engineer. We hired CDM to do the work. They're the ones doing the Swamp Road, and they had a traffic engineer on site. So they prepared a very in-depth report, which will answer all their questions, and are recommending, if you wish to proceed, a solar lit crosswalk system that will have instead of the LEDs around the sign, it will have a blinker, a rectangular blinker that's paddle activated. When we hit that, it sends a radio signal across the street to the other one. Start that one too.
So
you don't
both
have,
directions will get it.
so you don't have all the wiring costs or the bringing electricity down from the poles. And the battery's supposed to last like up to 5 years with the solar recharge. So the units themselves, the price breakdown's there, but they recommend, due to the sensitivity of getting the radios to talk to each other and the solar installation, that they be professionally installed. So CDM recommended a sum not to exceed $11,500 to do both signs.
So the sales quote says 13.
Yeah.
They recommended one of each of the two different kinds.
There were two kinds, so
Okay.
it totaled at the bottom of the stage, but if the email that's kind of in the back of that says the 11,000.
11.5, which is different, so it's a good question.
So it's like 5,700 for the equipment, and the rest is installation.
How far from the pedestrian crosswalk will the lights be located to give notice to the drivers? I'm just trying to picture.
They're
So
gonna be right
the
at
lights
it.
will be at the crosswalk, but
Okay.
they will reach out far enough that at those speeds,
Okay.
or even faster than those speeds, you'll see them. They will be bright.
So you'll see them as you're approaching it
Yes.
rather than once you're on,
Right.
almost on top of it.
Yeah.
There's no trouble with the road
Grades, no.
grades.
And did you want this to come out of field?
Amanda's got the numbers for,
We have 361 available in CNREF, and you have 425,000 available in your 1.5% fund, so at
You're going
this.
to be returning engineering funds to CNREF
Yes.
as well.
We are,
so
that is
On top of that, so that's where I would take it from.
I think
That's my
either one is a
recommendation.
perfectly fine place to be taking these stellar ones. Neither one is too drastic, even together, they're not too drastic, so I think either one is fine.
Okay.
Need a motion?
Go ahead. Were you making a motion?
Did you want to make it? I'm happy to make that motion. I make a motion that we appropriate for the signalized crosswalk at the intersection of Main and Ripley Hill in an amount not to exceed $11,500 from CNREF.
Second that.
It's moved and seconded.
Moved and seconded.
Any further discussion?
Not to exceed the same as up to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So can I just ask a question, and maybe I'm naive in my understanding? So I understand this is a state road, and we had to go through state DOT, so I'm just questioning why the town has to pay for it versus the state?
Because otherwise they won't put it here.
I see.
It's as simple as that.
Okay. I'm all for it, I just
Yeah.
wanted to understand why.
We argued for something like this even down on Main Street,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't pay for it. Partly is once they open that door, every town will want them everywhere.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's good. And I think that door, once this is, if it works and has good results, I think you're going to see
Other
that
requests.
they're going to request that at both crosswalks on Main Street and maybe at Robertson School too. So those are the only, good news is those are the only crosswalks we have. So it won't get too far out of hand, but I'm curious to see how it changes behavior here, and then we can maybe work them into future budgets for at least the Main Street. Robertson School does have a crossing guard.
Is there any additional signage being proposed at all?
I think there's one other sign that they
There's a
were,
crosswalk per se.
crosswalk, yeah, a distance ahead. I think there's one other that Todd want, but those are like $45 that we can install.
Well, I think this
I'd
is
like-
so particularly difficult because of the sun, too. In the morning, it blinds you right there when you look to the left.
And not dim the road.
Yeah, and you
Yes,
have the
it's
high
tough.
school all coming in. It's really a
I've-
It's a tough
difficult
intersection
spot.
all the way around, yeah.
Yeah.
I've driven through and seen these activated in other towns and actually in other states. This model, that I looked at it before, it's solar power, and it has the thing, it has the two, like we used to call it wigwag in the fire department, where you go one, then the other. They're very bright, they're very good because they're not flashing all the time. It's only when somebody goes and presses the button, so it does get your attention, and you can see them for quite a ways. And they're mounted up pretty high, so it's very attention-getting, so I'm hoping for a great thing. I'd also like to see the vertical stripe, if that's possible, on the post. I've noticed that, again, there's a couple crosswalks that really get my attention, and all they had 3 signs there, and you see the stripe on the faraway one, and then
That may depend
close.
on the type of pole they put.
Okay,
In
sure.
In some cases, they may be doing a round, smooth
Right.
pole versus the
Yeah,
standard
I know what you mean. Yeah.
V-channel one, so, but we can mention it. Those, again, are,
Yeah, that's
well, we actually have some in stock.
Right, yeah.
We have some in stock.
So
He
anyway,
knows where to buy that stuff.
And-
Yeah, on our website, there's always that option too.
I haven't seen those there, but
No.
we have some from a
Some
different rural
repurposed.
area of town that we
Yeah.
removed, so.
but one thing that I noticed on the others, not to get into the engineering side of this, but is to have them on both sides of the poles that are right at the crosswalk. So it kind of defines the area of, you should be looking from here to here, for pedestrians and stuff. Just
I think,
idea.
I think the
They'll-
plan,
they'll have
I
it
think,
covered.
I think the plan does have double signs.
got it. Okay,
Both sides say pedestrian.
right, and then I was just thinking that vertical stripe,
Okay.
both sides.
And-
But it's just my wish, but.
And when will these be installed? I'm not sure if I saw them.
Well, we would have to go back and find the vendors that actually do this work. I mean, CDM went directly to the company Tapco.
Yeah.
And there are cheaper vendors around. I mean, I'm trying to get this. I'm reluctant to do that because this is a level of sophistication I think we need to have it. And on just even in the US internet, you can beat the price by about $1,000 or so. I just think we want to go with a name brand company that's going to be in business and this Tapco.
Stand behind it.
Yeah, it's an important investment for our students, so.
So to answer your question, I don't know how fast this can go. But,
So once we approve it tonight, assuming we will, then will the process start this week to get the ball rolling?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll go back to CDM and say, who have you worked with, and get prices for installation.
Okay.
And I don't know the lead time on this and so forth. I would say, probably 4 weeks at the earliest. But the good news is we still, I'm sorry, let me back up. We still need to get state permission, so it depends how fast that is, but 4 weeks from state permission. So we have to now submit this report and say, this is what we want to do, here's our plan,
And that's,
and get the right-of-way encroachment permit for
and
it.
that's Department of Transportation.
A subdivision of the State Traffic Commission.
And do they tend to answer quicker than some other agencies?
They are starting to,
It's kind of a relative question. State agencies.
so,
Some key state agencies?
faster than some other agencies within DOT.
Okay,
There you
all
go.
right. Thanks, John.
We'll go with that.
Any further discussion?
I just want to highlight, kind of in the same spirit of the softball committee, and citizen identifying an opportunity in our town and taking the appropriate steps and course of action to try to solve that problem. And, clearly there are some families that came into the council and spoke in the audience of citizens and expressed their concerns, and, this is kind of the result of those actions and following the right process to get things done. I think so often we see people sitting behind their keyboards, getting on social media, complaining, but to actually affect positive change. This is a great example of that, another great example of that. So I don't know if it's possible, if after we vote, assuming this goes forward, is it possible to update a few of those families that had come in expressing concerns and had sent letters? Just, I don't know, you guys are here for this or not tonight, but if there's anyone else that's out there that would like to hear, kind of a status update or would appreciate
Certainly,
Email?
I'm very familiar with one
Yeah.
of the key persons and can tell them that where it is and what's going on.
The word will spread pretty quickly, I'm pretty sure.
And when they all ask for somewhere else,
Yeah.
look, we do want to try this out just to see how effective it works. But cost-wise, it's money, it's serious dollars.
Not nothing.
But if you compare it to a person, it's kind of 1 year or 2 years of salaries, but it's there 24 hours a day and not just at the beginning and end of school. So it's
Right.
much more effective.
During the summer, it'll be there.
So,
For
John, I just
everyone,
want,
not just students.
I just want to say that, one, I think it's well worth the investment. Yeah, it costs money, but it's well worth it. And also, I'm pleased that this is one of the final items that we approve on this council, so.
I second that.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Well, we're rolling right along here.
Sure. You want a motion on the next one, or are you going to explain it?
The Board of Ed has a request into us for their from their 1%.
1%.
It's a reserve fund for capital expenditures, actually.
So they're just looking to cover the expenses to make repairs to walk-in freezer and cover the deductible for water pump.
Move to authorize the Board of Ed to take up to $5,076.50 from their reserve fund for capital expenditures for those purposes.
Second. Oh, jeez.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You're up, Matt.
Are we up to executive session?
Lisa had to cover it last time.
Oh my God.
Julie did.
I move that the
Oh,
town
Julie,
council.
I'm sorry, Julie, were you on that right? I'm sorry, Julie had to cover
Julie
last
had to
time.
cover that.
I move that the town council enter the executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 1-206D, discussion of the selection of a site or the lease, sale, or purchase of real estate by a political subdivision of the state, when publicity regarding such a site, lease, sale, purchase, or construction would cause a likelihood of an increased price until such time as all the property has been acquired, or all proceedings or transactions concerning same have been terminated or abandoned, to the following people in attendance: the 7 members of town council, John Alcesser and Amanda Backhouse.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. If any students need anything signed, let us know, we can sign them.